Hello and welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers. This is episode number 59 on ebayscavengers.com. I'm Ryan, I'm here with Jay, and we are talking about what is going on in our store this week. We are still in Amsterdam.
Yep.
And I have been listing a lot because I have lots of folders full of stuff to list while we're here. So I've been doing pretty well trying to list at least 10 to 15, if not 20 things a day.
Right. This trip to Europe was a big experiment for us because it's the longest we've ever been away from home.
Right.
Basically from our eBay business. And our experiment was, can we get away from our store, our inventory, and still sell on eBay? So, as we've talked about, we've had our vacation settings on, but we've continued to sell. So let me go over the numbers. So from October 13th through the 19th, so we have 2,740 things in our store. We sold 44 things this week. We made about $1,600. The highest price item was a $300 winter coat made out of genuine shearling.
Yeah, so it's made out of a sheepskin.
Yeah, so nice. So our average price we sold was $36, which, as we always say, that's really the bread and butter of any kind of scavenger store. We didn't get anything returned that we know of, and we got about 3 positive feedback. Not getting a lot of feedback because obviously we haven't shipped anything in over a month.
Right. But we have had several things where people, because we're in October, we're buying them for Halloween costumes. So, right when they saw my email of, hey, we're coming back on the 1st, they were like, you got to cancel this. So. Right.
So specifically, for some reason, overalls, I guess, are really popular this year for Halloween.
And it's not so much regular overalls, it's short alls. Right. So I have these overalls, and I literally sold these overalls like 5 times.
Right.
And I had to return all those people's money.
Right. Because I guess people don't always see the banner, so people buy them, then we tell them we can't ship them right away. They say, oh, it's for Halloween, so we give them,
So actually, I didn't relist them this time.
Yeah. So we're now putting up our weekly numbers on the blog at ebayscavengers.com, and Mikey and Wendy will put up theirs as well. I just think it's always good to, I think it's always helpful just to actually see what's actually happening, because the numbers are really where the story is told.
Right.
We really haven't done a whole lot this week other than Ryan, who is listed like crazy, and I bet you've probably listed over 100 things this week.
Yeah, I think I'm really, really, really trying to get up to 3,000 items in our store for like Christmas time. That's a lot of listing. So
right, I'm not sure. Before it left on a trip, we went crazy taking pictures, and we must have had 100 folders of photos.
Yeah, we had a lot. I don't think it was 100, but yeah, it was close. Okay, so we have been scavenging, and we have found a couple things in the trash in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
One was a very cool lamp. Jay walked into the house with this translucent lucite acrylic lamp from like the 70s, and it's just gorgeous, and I had to get rid of the lampshade, but I'm bringing that thing home.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, let's be clear, we did this it's New York too. Now when we travel somewhere and we stay for at least a week or two, we look online and we see when the trash gets put out.
Right.
And if you're in an urban environment, I mean, you'd be surprised that people are either moving or they're doing spring cleaning or something.
A lot of people moving, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like I found that lamp. It was just on the side of the street. And it's been raining here a lot, and I just only had a pair of tennis shoes, and my feet were getting wet, and I found a pair of like a leather shoes.
Like work boots. They're actually really nice, like leather work boots.
Yeah.
They're mismatched. One's black and one's brown,
right.
Oddly enough. But they have been perfect shoes for you, and they fit you perfectly.
Yep. So I got rid of my old tennis shoes.
You put your tennis shoes in the trash where someone else picked them up.
Yeah. So, scavenging isn't just for selling on eBay. Scavenging is for our own life.
Yeah. Yeah, you found me a scarf, like a wraparound scarf hat thing.
Yep.
Nice. I did wash it.
Yep.
So what we plan to do when we get home, we will be getting home in about like 12 days from now, I will have about 150 or more items to ship. So that's going to take me several days. Clothes and shoes are very easy to ship, but, the harder things are the weird, shaped, delicate things that I have to ship.
Imagine it's yourself in your office, and we pile up 150 things.
Yeah.
And how did you attack that pile of stuff?
So I've been writing out a list of, I kind of categorize it between what's stored at our house and what's stored at our other storage locations. Like, it's different lists, but I do it chronologically by who paid for stuff first. So I try to do it I do it in sets of 10. So I pack 10 things and I print all those labels just so I can keep track of it. And then I kind of like bring those to the front porch. And then I go to the next 10 and just make sure I'm double checking this is the correct jacket, this is the right pair of shoes. I look at all the photos on the eBay, so I'm not like accidentally sending people the wrong stuff. And that's how I do it, just in sets of 10.
Okay, so it really isn't overwhelming 150 things, since you're really only doing 10 at a time.
Right, I'm doing 10 at a time, but I'm doing it all day. And you and I have meticulously gone and gotten all the stuff. Like, that really is, like, packing and shipping is time consuming, but finding everything, that's the challenging part. Once we find it, easy,
Obviously, if it's just shoes or like a sweater, it's much easier to throw in a flat
poly mailer or whatever. Yeah. Huh. Those are easy. They're fast. And the key is organization. Is what I do is my list is, okay, this particular jacket, and it goes to, Dayton, Ohio. So when I pack it, I write on it, Dayton, Ohio, and then I print that label out, and then that package is ready to go.
Right.
So,
well, it's pretty amazing to me. So we'll have been gone for 6 weeks, and we will have made about $6,000, which is pretty amazing.
Really amazing.
I mean, so it basically pays for our trip, renting the apartment and our food, and then we'll go home and we'll have plenty of money left over to pay our mortgage and our bills and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's so hard not leaving your store on. Like that's really a challenge to be like, okay, we're turning it off.
Right.
I
mean, obviously the story will be continued, because what we'll do is we'll see once we get home and mail everything to make sure everyone's happy.
Right. And a lot of times, I think you said this before, people forget, number one, that they bought something
6 weeks ago.
Yeah. And right before we get home, we do tend to get emails from people like, hey, where's my thing? And you're like, hey, remember I said I was away till the 1st. Like, you got to kind of be nice about it. But
right. But I feel, too, we're giving people good deals. We're taking pretty good offers. I mean,
cheaper offers.
Cheaper offers for the people who are giving the offers.
Actually, it was funny. There was a jumpsuit that sold last night, and someone said, if you can ship this out before, the 25th, then I'll pay full price. But if you can't, I'll pay $30. So we were like, can't, but we'll take the $30. It's kind of a funny thing.
It's also been interesting, too. You weren't a listing for the first couple of weeks we were here, really, and then you really started to list full time, or quite a bit, and it seemed like things started picking up.
Yep.
We have no scientific proof that a listing,
like an algorithm,
happens. Puts your store up top more. But we really found that those days when you list a lot, we started to sell more.
Yeah. And Mikey's pointed that out too. So always be listing.
Seriously. And the cool thing is, when you'll list like 20 things in a day, we'll wake up the next day and some of those things that you put up sold.
That's always the most fun thing, where something will sell and I'll be like, Jay, I listed that last night.
Right.
That's like so fun, because you're like, okay, so that was something that someone wanted, and it was just sitting on my computer waiting to be sold.
And as we try to every week on ebayscavengers.com, we have a little field on the sidebar where you can send in its questions or
what topics you want us to cover.
And some of them aren't really topics that would make up a whole show, so we'll just go ahead and answer some of the things that have come in this past week.
Let's see. Someone named Bonita says, how do you calculate foreign shipping accurately? I recently shipped to Canada and made my best estimate. By the time I got to the post office, it was $10 more than I had charged the buyer. Would you ever go back to the customer and ask for the difference? That is a great question. Number one, you have to weigh your items. So you have to know, like on eBay, when you're listing, you put the weight, say it weighs 5 pounds, and then you put that it's going to be calculated shipping. I don't really understand.
We go. So we don't really know the backstory for her question, but if you're new, you need to get a scale. If you're going to sell eBay on a regular basis.
Yes.
And we'll actually put a link on the blog post to the scale that we like.
Yeah.
But you need to get an accurate scale.
A digital scale.
Yeah. So,
it doesn't have to be expensive.
Right. So that way when you list,
right,
you actually put in the correct weight. And
right,
we always bump up the weight just a little bit because you have to imagine the packing and stuff.
Right.
Also
The box is going to add between a half a pound to 1 pound to the thing. So you have to bump it up. And that might have been why. But number two is you don't need to go to the post office. You can just print out the label on eBay. That's something we always say. And no, I wouldn't go back to the customer because you're going to make your customer mad. Like, oh, by the way, I messed up and you owe me $10 more.
Yeah.
It's just not fun to do that.
That wouldn't be. But, it sounds like this is very common for anyone starting to sell on eBay on a regular basis, is that you always get burned a couple times.
And then you learn quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't ever have to estimate the weight. You should just get a scale and know exactly.
And enter that info into the selling field in your listing.
And as we always say, this is a business, so any scale or it's material that you buy for the business, you can write off as an expense at the end of the year.
Right.
So it's investment in the business. Okay, we got another question here from someone that didn't leave their name. She just said, what do you do with items that don't sell?
No, we sell them.
I don't know.
That's what we do with them.
I think our thing is, as we always say, is just listing en masse and having a big inventory.
Right.
So we're willing to list things and we'll let them sit on our store. I mean, we actually have a small amount of things that have been up for 3 years.
3+ years. But the thing about those items is you need to bring the price down. That's what I've been doing lately is I've been looking at when I listed them and be like, all right, this has to go cheaper.
Right.
Or do I need to go back and either, number one, get rid of it? Do I need to take better pictures or just is that a waste of time? That's always a question.
Yeah. So our strategy is that we don't mind letting things sit because we've built enough storage to where it doesn't really bother us.
Right.
And because once you get actually subscribed to an eBay store, it's really relatively cheap to have it listed every month. So it could be up for a couple of years. And even if you sell it for $20, you're still going to make a profit because its monthly listing fee only totals to about $1 or $2.
Yeah, so the way we do things through a store is we don't have items that never sell. They just take longer. That's all.
I mean, I would say 80% of what we list sell is within 12 to 15 months.
Yeah. We have a high turnover of items, like we sell, I think it was something like we sell almost like a huge percentage of stuff that's in our store every year. Right. It's just like turns over.
Well, we sell almost 10% of our store every month.
Right. Okay.
So
yep.
I mean, on a good month, it might be more 8%.
Right, 8 to 10%.
But that's the thing. If you are feeling you're listing a lot of stuff and nothing ever sells, I mean, then you need to double think about what you're actually selling.
And how much, and do better research.
But I think a lot of these questions we get, and I don't know about this person here, is like they only have listed 30 things or 50 things, and then they get confused why things don't sell a lot. And it's just because you don't have enough stuff listed.
And our thing, too, is, our manifesto is get to 500 items. And then stuff starts selling more frequently,
right.
And keep listing. Just keep going from there. That's how it works.
Okay. We got a question here from Adley, who says he sells clothes and now he wants to sell plush dolls. And asks us if we can give him tips on selling
plush
dolls.
like stuffed. Yeah, I have no experience doing that.
The only reason why we're bringing this up is we are always looking for new things to sell.
Right.
And we don't care if we're experts or not, because it's very easy to become an expert in something. Number one, just sit down and start Googling it and figuring it out. And then go on eBay and look at completed items, see what's sold. Right. And that will easily, very quickly tell you about the average price of what people sell, figure out what kinds of items specifically people are looking for.
Right.
And we are not experts. We just know how to use the internet. So,
I'm trained as a video editor. Like, this is not like something that it's like we're just like figuring it out as we go along,
And I think that's why we call this podcast Scavengers, is because really our goal is to try and find things as cheap as possible. So if you can find something that is being sold for dirt cheap, you really can't lose. Like, for instance, we went into this, it's mentioned it's before, we went into like a kind of like a hardware like store, wholesale hardware place, and we saw they had a huge pile of bathroom sinks.
Right.
And we actually said, how many of these sinks could we get for $200? And they let us pick out like 13 or 15 sinks and for $200, and they were like these nice Kohler sinks. We didn't really know anything about sinks, but we knew that they're pretty nice.
We knew that in our own house that's like the type of stuff that we would have bought,
But because we got them so cheap, we were willing to take that risk, and it was crazy. We've sold about half of them, and some of them we've been selling for $400.
Yeah, one of them we sold for $400. Crazy.
So it's about the scavenging to make sure you're getting them really, really cheap.
And another thing too is like, if you want to do an experiment, get some plush dolls that you think are interesting, bring them home, look them up, get them for cheap, and then try to sell them and see what sells, you know? And that you just have to start,
Yeah, I just, we're really down on the idea of, I hear some people talk about, you go on the internet and you can go to these like wholesaler Chinese sites and you buy trinkets for
jewelry,
$2, and then you sell them for $2.80, and you're hoping you can sell enough of them with like a 25-cent is profit that's going to be good. We aren't into that. We're like we're into buying things for $1 and selling them for $30,
right?
Or buying something for $10 and selling it for $100,
right?
Like,
exactly.
And if you're in the States, I don't think there's any reason why you can't do that, because there's so much waste.
Yeah,
and
you can find so much stuff. So that's a great question, and we say just do an experiment and see what works. So our next question is from Marcus, and he says, I am curious about when to use media mail as a shipping option. For example, if I sold a fictional book, can I still use this option even though it's not officially educational? Now, I looked this up today because media mail does cover books and educational materials. So what I did find out is, yes, a fictional book does qualify. So, they teach fiction and literature in school. So yes, fictional book. I think it's actually any book, because and I'll link to the it's the USPS content standards for media mail. The first item they list is just books. You can just put books in there. You can do like actual educational films. You can send educational software, things like that. The only thing is, the post office does have the right to open it up and inspect it. That's that. I send all kinds of books because books are heavy, so they give you like kind of a discount for heavy books, and I make it very obvious that it's a book.
But basically, the post office, this link will link to. It's clear. It's just any kind of media, DVDs, printed music, computer-related media. I mean,
right, although I don't think you can send... Well, you might be able to send movies. Yeah, you just have to read the fine print.
Yeah.
But do be aware that if they open it up and don't deem it worthy of these standards, they will charge you a higher rate. Or charge your customer a higher rate at the other end. So another thing you can do is bring the item to your post office and ask them, does this qualify? So,
yep,
that's a good question.
Cool. Well, that's some good questions we got this week. And sometimes people send questions that we don't really talk about here because really they're just like questions. Just call eBay if it's really specific, or if you're having a printer problem, like that's,
If you're having a technical problem with eBay, honestly, like I always say, put eBay's phone number in your phone as a contact and just call them.
Yeah.
I call them all the time. We've been in Amsterdam for, 4 weeks or whatever. I've called them several times over the, over Skype.
But we're always happy to answer questions about strategy and things like that. Okay, so we've done a good solid 20-minute podcast. Our next thing coming up, we have an interview. There's a seller I've been following for a while now, and I've been really impressed with how much she sells. And it turns out that she does it. One reason why is she's hired some employees, and that's something that we've always talked about, but the math hasn't ever seemed to work, but she has gotten it to work. So we'll find out how she does it.
Yep. So stay tuned for our next interview. Awesome.
See ya.